Sripad Bhaktivedanta Tridandi Maharaj, who met the devotees in 79, and he took Diksha in 95 from Srila Gurudeva, and then latterly also took sannyas from him. I won't take any more time. I'll hand over to him. You have half an hour, Maharaj. Thank you so much for coming.
I'd like to offer my Dandavat pranams unto my most beloved Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And also I'd like to offer my most humble Dandavat pranams to Nitya Leela Pravishta Amasto Tarasdara Shishimat, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and all our Rupanuga Guru Vargya, and all the senior devotees, and all the junior devotees, and all the visitors and guests and Vaishnavis, and everybody on our thread that is able to participate and contribute even just by listening to this program that our beloved Yashodanandan Prabhu has been inspired to get together with a lot of work, I'm sure, collecting all these people on the same page at this different times around the planet. So this is a phenomena. So I'd just like to express one thing initially, that yesterday on his appearance day, I was overwhelmed with so many videos and offerings in my WhatsApp box and my Telegram box. And it really was like the whole globe. For us, it was yesterday, Srila Gurudev's appearance day. I don't know today. It was yesterday for you also. But it just seemed like the whole planet was glorifying Srila Gurudev. And it was just overwhelming. Gurudev said one time, I was sitting right beside him on the floor in Gopinath Bhavan, and he said, "Oh, when I leave this world, you will all glorify me so much." And he was almost joking. But I thought at the time, yes, this is actually what happens, is that people tend to glorify a personality even more when they've left, because they can look back and see his history and so on. But with Srila Gurudev's, in his situation, it's a little different, because his gifts were not very much of the external type, we can say. Of course, they were to create a support system for us, but principally his teachings were in the temple of our hearts, very, very much so. So just historically, we appreciate how our beloved Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he erected such an amazing, strong platform of the reality of God, of the reality of Krishna. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Without this platform, Srila Gurudev would not have been able to place the teachings that he had to gift us. He would not have been able to give the next stage. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev are totally, totally harmonious. It's a total in sync combination, completely. If we hadn't been purified and learnt that initial lesson, you can say, of respect for the spiritual path, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada encouraged everyone to bow down, bow down, bow down. We were all coming from such low-class backgrounds, wiping the meat from our faces, etc. And yet he was able to purify these very low-class people and bring them to a stage of practically just human and believing in the Lord. So on this platform, Srila Gurudev was able to gift the gifts that he had come to give. And he didn't compromise with this. This is his beauty. He didn't spend time cutting more jungles. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he had cut enough jungles that were necessary. Srila Gurudev came with a specific mission, very, very specific. He wanted to give us the highest gift of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He wanted to give us Braja Prem. perhaps not in this lifetime, perhaps making sanskars and impressions that we would capitalize on in future lifetimes. We have to see it in its long-term process. Srila Gurudev has taught us the absolute zenith, the absolute height of spiritual sweetness and truth. None of us can deny. How long have we heard Srila Gurudev talk about Vrindavan Dham? How long have we heard him talk about Srimati Radhika? We've seen the incredible paintings that have manifest from his heart through our beloved Srimati Shyamarani Didi. We've seen so many presentations on Gopi Geet, on Venu Geet, on Brahmara Geet, all of these windows directly into the highest conception. So we have that goal. Now we are less than that. We are down from there. But if we have the vision, if we have the goal, then we can make steady tracks towards that. And I think every single day that we cross a certain boundary of consciousness, we can say, towards that goal, then a mood of extreme gratitude will come in the heart, because there's no other way at all that we could have remotely come to this stage of just knowing something about the height of Goloka Vrindavan. It's amazing how Srila Gurudev crafted his message over a period of 20 years, we can say. I can remember back in 91, 92, we would just call Srila Gurudev Maharaj. There was no great fanfare. There was no great awe and reverence. He was just like the local sannyasi, is how I first envisaged him. He was living in Mathura. We'd travel across from the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, and we'd go to visit him. But there was something so special and sweet from the very beginning. But gradually, he revealed what that speciality was. First of all, he was teaching us the distinction between Aishwarya and Madhurya. This was like monumental on the mind, because first of all, we just tried to understand and grapple with, well, Krishna and Sharanagati, Bhagavad Gita principles. And now all of a sudden, that same Krishna had two distinct aspects to him. There was Madhurya and Aishwarya. And he gradually made us appreciate so deeply, so conclusively, the distinctions between these two realms. In Vrindavan, the Krishna is totally dependent on the Brijvasis. And in Mathura and Dwarka, the Dwarkavasis and the Mathuravasis are fully dependent on Krishna. So the distinction, the mood, is completely different. And Srila Gurudev would never step outside of this. He was uncompromising in his presentations, just again and again and again and again. And then the follow-up to this, giving us all these books. I think the books really began in 2000 practically, really coming out quite thickly. Bhajan Rahasya, then Gopi Geet came out, then his Bhagavad Gita came out, Jaiva Dharma came out in particular. Jaiva Dharma was like a bombshell for us. So to map our states of consciousness through those 20 years, where it's coming from. And it's not even completed yet. It's not even begun. We've just assimilated what is the goal, basically. And how did Gurudev impress upon us what the goal was? You remember every single Kartik Prikrama, we'd be saying our vows down by the Jamuna. And when we'd finished our vows, Gurudev would always turn to us and say, right, now say after me, I want to be a Palya Dasi of Srimati Radhika. And he'd make us say this again and again, even we didn't understand what we were saying. But just by looking at Gurudev, we had faith. This is what the Mahabhagavat is able to do. He's able to give us rock solid faith in the words that he's presenting to us, in the truths that he's saying. And he's giving us the gifts directly of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I can remember in 97, sitting in Braj Ballabh's house in Australia, and Srila Gurudev began to describe Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunai Vartino Kalos Samarvaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam. And then he explained this verse, And the devotees that were there were just amazed. Some of us had been practicing devotion for 20 years, Shamarani, more 30 years at that time. And we were all just staggered by this truth that Srila Gurudeva was giving us in such a sweet way, describing how Mahaprabhu had come to taste his own prem, that Unnata Ujjvala Ras, and he'd come to give us, jivas, service to that prem in the form of Manjari Bhav. And he never stopped that focus. The whole time, he would drop back, of course, and he'd cover all truths of the Bhagavatam. He described Prahlad Charita so many times, Dhruva Charita so many times, Ajamil so many times, all of the previous pastimes, Ram Leela so many times, Mahabharat pastimes so many times. At the same time, this was just sort of like making the background very strong so that we would catch the essence. There is an essence. The essence is Sachinandan Gaurahari. He is the Yuga avatar, and he's only just come. And his greatest emissaries, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Raghunath Das, these personalities, these are the ones who, they're like the first wave. They were like directly in touch with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So just as we are in touch, have been in touch, still are in touch with Srila Gurudeva, and we are still resonating with the truths that he offered to us. Similarly, Rupa Goswami, even though these are eternal parakars, still there's a speciality in Sachinandan Gaurahari himself, how he was describing what he wanted to actually implant. And it's not just Krishna who wants to implant. We understand who is Guru. Guru is Nityananda Prakash. He's Akhanda Guru Mula Tattva, manifesting down from Baladev Prabhu. But the speciality of our line is particularly that they are all Radha Kaya Vyuha. They are all manifesting from Sri Radhika. They are all Manjaris, every single one in our line. Rupa Manjari, Lavanga Manjari, Rati Manjari, Vilasa Manjari. Then Krishnadas Kaviraj, Kasturi Manjari, Vilasa Manjari, all of these personalities, down to Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Kamala Manjari, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Nayani Manjari, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Maharaj, Vinod Manjari. So we have these two streams, very distinct streams. And it's very interesting to appreciate how when Mahaprabhu was immersed in Vipralamba Bhav within the Gambhira in Puri for 12 years very intensely, but prior to that, 18 years. And then he was sending Nityananda off to preach in Bengal. So if you wander around in Bengal now, you'll see all these places where Nityananda Prabhu has walked and performed his kirtan along with his Gopals. These 12 Gopals that he traveled with, Abhiram Thakur, Kamalakara Pipalaya, Gauri Das Pandit, Udaran Datta, so many of his Gopals coming from Vrindavan. So this preaching mood is a part of our line, but the principal internal aspect is manifesting from Sri Radhika directly through the teachings, of course, of Srila Rupa Goswami. Tannama Rupa Charita Adi Sukirtano Smritya Kramana Rasinyo Soja Tishtem Brajay Anuragi Janugami. Come to Vrindavan, live in Vrindavan. This was Gurudev's flag. He called us every year. He walked around the planet calling us, come to Vrindavan, come to Vrindavan. And what happens when we got there? He stuck us in buses and we trundled through all that dust for weeks and weeks. If you listen to the audios of the Parikrama classes, always in the last week of those classes, you can hear all the coughing in the audience. Everyone's got all this dust in their chest and they're all coughing like anything, you know. So he literally pushed the dust within us. And he told us this is not a geographical exercise. If you come under high-class guidance in the month of Kartik, Narada Muni has proclaimed that for sure our highest desire will be fulfilled. So our consciousnesses are made up of desires, right? They're just filled with different types of desires. So Srila Gurudev, and that has to come from the heart. That's not an artificial imposition, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada said. It has to come from the heart. The heart has to appreciate these truths. So Srila Gurudev was fully in the heart in all of his relationships. The other day, yesterday, we were in the Radharaman Gaudiya Math here in Delhi, and Pujapaj Shroti Maharaj was speaking very beautifully in front of a huge crowd, 400, 500, 600 very mature devotees in the Delhi temple. And he was talking about the kindness of Gurudev. The Westerners really appreciated this kindness because he didn't give us so much stick. He gave me a lot of stick, but for most people, he just gave his embrace, his kindness and his sweetness constantly. I remember in one house in Hawaii, this person had a huge apartment and a huge panorama vista window. And he was showing off Gurudev, oh, look at this beautiful view I have here. And Gurudev looked, and then he turned to him and said, the view that I'm looking inside your heart is much, much more beautiful than this view. He never let the personalities that he was speaking to become diminished by anything external. He made us have that confidence in ourselves, which is so necessary. It's like today I'm appreciating more and more, because often I'm speaking to devotees who didn't meet Gurudev, who didn't meet Prabhupada, and they can't actually catch what we're talking about when we talk about Bhav Bhakti or Prema Bhakti, because they've never seen a person who was at that stage. So they don't have that rock solid faith that we have. And this is likened to having a passport from this personality. Not only a passport, but a visa stamped for Goloka Vrindavan. Yes, we have it. Don't just keep it dusted in your pocket. Take it out. Gurudev is giving it to us. And I think yesterday on his appearance day, on his centennial, it was so extraordinary because there were many sannyasis were there, and we all sat down to take prasadam. I was with Shroti Maharaj, Sajan Maharaj, and Nrsimha Maharaj, and Sridhar Maharaj, so many. And 10 years ago, we all had some contentions going. When Gurudev just first left, Madhav Maharaj was serving us all. He was walking around serving us. And I was reflecting, what were the problems that were there 10 years ago? Nobody could remember what they were. They'd all just dissipated. So we were all just seeing each other in a very loving way. It was like a transformation. It was like something that I never could have thought would ever happen, because it seemed like we went through quite a bumpy spell just after Srila Gurudev left. It was quite rocky, and the devotees scattered quite significantly. But yesterday I felt, because it was Gurudev's appearance day, his 100th appearance day, and there were so many global glorifications going on at that time. And then we were all sitting together there, and we were all, it was such a camaraderie mood amongst us all. Everyone was joking. And of course, Madhav Maharaj was going around stealing different things from the devotees. He took my glasses, didn't tell me where they were. I was searching around. He would always do tricks like this, you know? And even yesterday he did it, searching. And then finally he slipped them into my pocket as if I didn't look there first, and then pretend he didn't know anything about it. But Madhav Maharaj is very tricky. He often does things like this. But this mood was there amongst the devotees, and it was very heartening. It was most inspiring and encouraging, because I think many devotees have felt somewhat we've been drifting to some degree since Srila Gurudev's departure as far as any unity. But we see yesterday in particular, when there was such an overwhelming inundation of offerings, heartfelt offerings to Srila Gurudev, and what you are all doing, producing this 55-hour kirtan around the world. I mean, it's just going on and on. Who is this person? That's so many hundreds of thousands of people. Today, I was this morning in the Delhi temple again, and Old ladies were standing up weeping in front of the microphone, declaring their, affection and sincerity to Srila Gurudev. It was so moving. It was really touching to see and listen to all these offerings. There wasn't a single superfluous offering amongst them. Every single one was focused in the heart region so beautifully, so beautifully. So this is what has impressed me personally on this centennial, is the unity that I'm seeing. I'm seeing the affection is the unity, the affection itself that Gurudev poured out to the world by his own munificent character, not just externally, so to speak, but in regard to the instructions of Shastra, his mission. What was the nature of his mission? Srila Gurudev, he took us into the Gambhira. He took us into Puridam. He took us into the heart of Sachinandan Gaurahari. Not just in Puri, he took us in Navadvip also. I mean, physically, literally, we would go on the Goromandal, of course, with Gurudev, and we would go usually in the Purushottam month to Puri. So in both of these instances, Gurudev was just pouring moods of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And of course, as I just said previously, Gurudev in his spiritual form as a Manjari, Raman Manjari. Actually, just yesterday, I heard for the very first time this beautiful astakam that Pujapad Madhav Maharaj has dedicated to Raman Manjari, this beautiful astakam glorifying. I haven't even had a chance to read it all entirely, but it's just another step of confidence that who is this person? And I feel personally this mood of confidence is the indication of Shraddha. Shraddha Shabde Vishvasa Koi. Sudrita Nishchoy, this Vishvasa. What does Vishvasa mean? It means confidence. When we have full faith in the object of our goal, no doubt at all that yes, Goloka Vrindavan is attainable because my beloved Gurudev has told me it is. He's indicated with his eyes that it is. He's indicated through his teachings that it is. He's indicated through the various internal operations that he performed with individuals all the time. I'm sure every single person listening here has a story, a pastime, a unique story, just about his own personal opening out of this flower-like consciousness that Srila Gurudev performed in a most mystical, magical way. I can remember when we were working on the Jaiva Dharma, and Srila Gurudev was so excited about this particular project. He'd already produced Jaiva Dharma in Hindi for his Gurudev, and his Gurudev had been so grateful that he translated it from the Bengali into the Hindi. And then when we were about a week away from the publishing, every morning I would meet Srila Gurudev. He would come down the steps in the Mathura temple, going on to his morning walk with Purandar at that time, Nrsimha Maharaj now. And I would be sitting on a bench there. And each morning he would come down and he would quiz me about the status of our publication. He wanted to know if the proofs had come down from Delhi, any computers had broken, anybody was having any difficulty. Had the fonts arrived even, he talked about one day. He wanted to know every single detail. He was actually showing me that he was the one who was producing this Jaiva Dharma. I was under the illusion for a little while that I was actually compiling it, but he was the one who was doing it completely. And he really let me know this because he was questioning every single step of the way. And then when the publication finally came out, we gave it to him just on the top of the steps as you enter the Mathura Math. Gurudev just mystically was standing there when we came down with the books from Delhi. And he just grabbed a book and he ran, like a little boy, ran into the temple to offer it to his Gurudev. He was so enthusiastic. And then he offered it to his Gurudev. He sat down, he gave a beautiful, like 15, 20-minute lecture about Jaiva Dharma. And then we had a kirtan, etc. And then the next morning, I was sitting in this same place, expecting Gurudev to come down and say, oh, well done, good, we've got it. And he just walked straight past me out the door, didn't even say a word. And I suddenly realized that the sweetness of that relationship that I felt I'd been having with him at that time was only under the umbrella of service. It was as if we were both doing service together. And this was a very beautiful realization. So as soon as I understood that, I just went straight and looked for another publication to start off, because our relationship comes from our seva. If we're doing seva, any sort of seva, then Gurudev is there. If we're doing some sort of sincere seva. There was another time when I had to collect the sannyasi rods in Govardhan. We had the Gaur-Pranim one year in Govardhan because there was problems in Navadvip. And I was looking everywhere for the thin bamboo rods. They didn't have them anywhere. They only really seemed to have them in Bengal. And Gurudev was so enthusiastic to find these rods. And we were searching, and we were doing the seva together. Personally, in my limited time with Srila Gurudev, I've never experienced anything more sweet than doing seva with Gurudev, performing seva for the devotees. And just to see his enthusiasm and his mood, it was so sweet. But just coming back to this present moment now, how we're somewhat scattered and we're depending on these Zoom meetings, etc. I think we're having an even greater chance of communicating with each other. Of course, it's not the same as when we're literally being with each other, but nevertheless, it's a very good second best that we can carry through with our sharing of the glories of this personality, which, as I've come to appreciate in the last 24 hours, are so unlimited. No one would ever have enough time to speak them all. They will be just raining down and raining down. 55 hours is not enough. It actually should be like 12 months. 12 months, we might even just, get the tip of the iceberg. But 55 hours should give us the essential ingredient of greed, lobha. Without this lobha, without this enthusiasm to please Srila Gurudev, I realized, I have never really pleased Srila Gurudev. I'm always wanting to please him, but I never really feel fully that he's really completely pleased. There's always a shortfall. And there's a beautiful question that was asked to him many years ago. Someone asked him, how can a disciple tell if his sambandha with his Gurudev is growing? So Gurudev answered, if a person is dying, or if there is any trouble, or if he is always thinking how to serve Guru, regardless of the situation, always thinking of him, his sambandha is strong. He feels indebted. He realizes that his Guru has given him a seed of a big, big tree. The disciples feel he can never repay his Guru for many, many births. Just like me, Gurudev was saying, I am always trying to serve my Gurudev, but I am never satisfied. If I can awaken in anyone's heart, if I can make you, he was pointing to us, sink into what I'm absorbed in, I will feel I have served my Gurudev. If one is always thinking how to serve him, his mindness, his mamata is increasing. Gurudev somehow indicated that his sambandha with his Gurudev was continuing to grow. And this was absorbing his mind and heart day and night. So this mood, I really can appreciate and tune in with and resonate, how to keep everything alive, not to be stuck in any kind of plateau or any complacency, but always to be intensely moving. And I sincerely have appreciated that by taking Harinam in reasonable doses, then this can be maintained without a great deal of effort. If that Harinam is carefully chanted with the mood, Srila Gurudev would say every single day, he would always say one verse. Remember, Madhu? One verse. Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi suhishana amanina manadena kirtanya sarhari. This was Gurudev's emblem, in fact. There was a time in Radhakund, we were doing parikrama, and we came to the Radha Damodar temple. And of course, we were approaching the Babaji land, you know, where so many temples and Babajis were there. And Gurudev called us all really close and said, I'm going to give you all your Siddha Pranali now. We were all thinking, oh, wow, what is this? And we all sat close. And then he leant forward very confidentially and said quietly, Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi suhishana. He said this is our Siddha Pranali mantra. So to remember that and to always have great respect for all of the Vaishnavas. This is what Umadidi was just saying. If we have respect for the Vaishnavas, if we have respect for our Gurudev had so much respect for every single one of us. We all responded to that, didn't we? Srila Gurudev would walk through the crowd and we would always be hoping, is he going to look at me? And when his glance landed on your face, you just felt like 1,000 suns had just come into your heart to brighten it up. He would be talking to your spirit soul. And that was filled with respect and sweetness and beauty. I can remember when he used to call upon us to speak and he would say our names. He would say, Bhakti-Vedanta Tridandi Swami, you get up. And when he would say it, it would feel like the whole universe had landed on my head. You know, I would feel I had grown like 10 feet tall just by hearing him say that. He gave us confidence in ourselves that we didn't even have for ourselves. You know, what a gift. Impossible to, and these types of sanskars, however much they seem to get in the sort of corners of our archives in the, you know, as time goes by, they can never, ever be scratched out. They're always there forever. They just need waking up periodically. And Gurudev will make that arrangement for every single one of us to wake up our remembrances of Gurudev, which is what this 55-hour kirtan is all about. So I've gone a minute over my time and we've been cautioned all the way through that you're running a little bit behind. So thank you all from the bottom of my heart so much for this opportunity to speak to you all. I love to speak in English to English audiences because, you know, there's a resonance there. We can understand each other very simply. So I'm really, really appreciative of you making this wonderful, wonderful arrangement. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhavevicha patitanam pavnibhyo vaishnavebhyo namaha. My dandavats to you all. Hare Krishna.
Dandavad pranams, Maharaj. Thank you so much for such sweet katha, for speaking on so many topics, how we are all one family, how Srila Gurudeva is uniting us.